sorted. Yes. Let's talk about State of Origin and not the Coco.
Yes, let's get stuck into Game 2, Sunday.
Sunday night.
Suncorp.
Yep. Yeah, Suncorp. Unusual for Sunday fixture, something they've trialled a little bit in the recent future.
It's also a set bye week.
More recent past, my apologies.
Yes. I think it's also a bye week as well. So they've, there's no Wednesday and then back up, having the back on the weekend, all games being played. So it's a dedicated bye round for State of Origin.
And I like that it's game 2. I kind of think, you could do it for game 3, but then if it's a dead rubber and it's a bye round, everyone's kind of like, So I think it's smart doing it like this.
What are we? We just passed the midpoint of the season as well.
Essentially, essentially. One change for New South Wales is just Angus Crichton comes into the side. He was suspended for game 1, being one of the form edge back rowers in the league this year for the Chooks. Jake Trebojevic is out with a hip flexor injury. I believe he sustained that at training, poor fella. And Dale Finucane, the Bega bomber, he comes into the squad, most likely doesn't play. So New South Wales, other than that one change, will be essentially the same side that lined up there in Townsville.
I'd pick Finucane over Sims, but after what Sims did in game 1, I think it's fair to keep him in there.
Again, and I said it before game 1, I think he's built for Origin, and I'm wearing my Dragons hat and I watch him every week, and maybe I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not the person to ask, but he's just big and aggressive, and yes, he does occasionally make these errors where you're like, man, like
that against the Raiders game, like he was solid, but not spectacular, But he was so good in Origin.
There's no denying he was good in Origin.
So maybe he's the gag guy of New South Wales. So
I was going to say, I like that.
I'm happy to pick him there. Purely on form and what they're doing for either club, I think Finucane's an excellent, super underrated, honestly.
And even if he doesn't play, his leadership and
being around camp,
and the experience that he brings to that side, he doesn't have to suit up. On Sunday night, I think just having him in that camp is big for those young New South Wales players. The Queensland side, on the other hand, a multitude of changes.
Yeah, had to make some changes. So Papa Lili comes back in, record as expected. He had a suspension for game 1. The big change at hooker, no Harry Grant, no Reid Marnie. So Andrew McCulloch comes in. Interesting enough, it's his 14th season and he's second series would be. He's only played one series. I can't believe how old he is, honestly. Like how many seasons of NRL he's played.
Well, he doesn't play like he's old and busted up, but I guess you kind of have to think Cameron Smith the way that he was able to play that position, which is a difficult position. Like often leads the team in tackles.
Yeah, but it's just 14 seasons. That's essentially he started after Brisbane won the comp in 06. Like it's
13th this year.
13th this year. Yeah. So it's
but he's played 285 first grade games. Yeah. Unbelievable. But we talk about Stuart McGill. Getting if it's any other era, maybe he does have 30 origins, or maybe he does have 20 origins. But when there's a guy called Cameron Smith there,
true,
pretty difficult.
But Andrews again, he's another one of those really, really solid players. He's not as explosive and X-factory as what Harry Grant is,
of course not.
But he'll do a good job, I'd say, for there.
And defensively, I think he's strong.
Yeah, and he's got his partner in crime in Ben Hunt, who he's playing will be 14 and kind of specialises as a 14 for Queensland. So you'll get some spell there, which I think is good because I think Harry Grant was a bit underdone in the game 1, and then having to see how they go, trying to manage the minutes for the hookers really didn't work out in that first game.
Not at all. Francis Mollo makes his Origin debut from the Gold Coast Titans. Again, one of those kind of bigger-bodied, aggressive kind of guys. I haven't seen too much of him. I can't say hand on heart that I watch every minute of the Gold Coast Titans. Be interesting to see what he brings to the side.
Yeah, well, little brother getting bigger brother at this point. So
yeah, big time. Fafita goes back to the bench. And Mulitalo and Cohen Hess called into the squad.
Yeah, so
the big one.
Well, to finish up the forward pack, so Tino goes back to play lock. He was playing prop in the first game. Welsh hopefully will be good for this. I think he's been all right so far since his concussion in game 1.
And in the modern game, going back to Tino, it doesn't seem like there's that much difference between lock and prop. Like we saw Jake Trebojevic playing as a quote-unquote prop in the last game.
But I think it's
like you're a middle forward.
I think it's a much needed size for Queensland because they were definitely undersized compared to Haas and Paulo on the other side of the field for game one. So whether that laid such a great platform for New South Wales, and that's why they dominated so much because they couldn't get into that grind because they were missing that kind of firepower up front. Papalili will do a good job. That's what makes me think this game will probably be more competitive is the forward backs, both healthy and both in there, will be more competitive contests, which hopefully will bring it closer.
Sure.
But as you alluded to, the back line. So Reece Walsh gets his Guernsey at fullback to come in. I was on the bandwagon that I didn't want Valentina Holmes to play fullback. I'm just not a huge fan of his defensive play, and he's been found out in the 2 Origin games he's played at fullback that he's maybe not the greatest defender at fullback, especially when they're under the pump and they're leaking tries.
Yes.
So the hope was Ponga, still injured. Hope was Brimson, injured. Then you start thinking about, well, if we want to put Holmes on the wing, who we've got left to play fullback?
Well, if that's your decision that you don't want Holmes playing fullback, it has to be Reece Walsh.
Yeah, well, who's the hottest product out of Queensland that's playing fullback at the moment? It's Walsh.
Couldn't tell you. Yeah, outside of Walsh, couldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's the media all week's been about. And when I say media, I'm talking about New South Wales legends in Sydney because that's predominantly what the media is that we get down here. Getting stuck into Queensland about you can't do that. You've thrown Lamb to the wolves. He's going to get slaughtered, etc.
He's not experienced enough. He's too young. He's too small.
He's played 2 months.
He's too good looking.
Yeah, there is that.
He's good looking, Rooster.
Yeah. So he's had almost 2 months worth of footy. He's played 7 games. Which is still more than Ben Ikin, and we talked about how much of a club legend he was for Brisbane at the start of the show.
And played 17 Origins.
And he played 17 Origins.
I'm glad that you bring that up because I think it was Fox League was brought to the light other guys that made inexperienced Origin debuts. One of the fellas is playing Payne Haas.
Hypocrites.
So he only played 10 games before he got picked to play for New South Wales. He's only 21 and he's playing 6 Origin. Hard to, use him as a barometer, but I'd like to mention some other guys.
Yep.
Brad Fittler, 12 games, selected to play his first Origin.
All time.
After 12 games, he played 31 Origins. Trent Barrett, 12 games also. He played 11 Origins, 295 first grade games. Brent Tate, he got picked after 14 games in the centres. Played 23 Origins, was part of that Queensland dynasty, the 8 in a row. And Matt Scott, also part of that 8 in a row dynasty, got picked after 14 first grade games. He played 22 Origins.
It's a good list to be on.
The proof's in the pudding right there.
If you're good enough, you're good enough. If you know.
If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yep.
Reece Walsh is a young, brilliant fullback that has a long career ahead of him in the NRL. And if anything, like if we're looking back at that past and we're taking any kind of note out of it, is that he should play multiple Origin games and hundreds of first grade games. This kind of rhetoric that he's too young and too small, yes, I can see it. I can't imagine being an 18-year-old playing Origin and the pressure and the expectation and the number of eyeballs, but it's what he's wanted to do since he was a fucking little kid.
Exactly. And then you also look at the age and the veteran talent that's in that team. Like DCE's in there, he's won a premiership.
Yes.
We're just talking about McCullough. He's played 14 seasons.
Yep.
Parley's been there for ages.
Yep.
Welsh has won.
Ben Hunt.
Munster. They've all won comps.
Yep.
So, there's...
Gag guy.
Yeah, exactly. And, and you want to add X factor to that team, and Walsh probably brings in that X factor. He's probably not going to be asked to do a heap, you'd think, as he's not going to be running around and leading them around or anything. But still, he just needs to pop up in the right moments.
In terms of leadership, you're all right, but you're still fullback. Like, you have to, by wearing that number 1, you have to do a heap. I, as a New South Wales fan, I would obviously want the Blues to win, but I want him to have a good game and kind of silence these critics that are saying that he's
exactly
too young.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I wouldn't surprise me if he comes out and has an absolute flyer in this game. And, my pick for this game was, say, like a 20-18, 20 218 scoreline, which I think is one of my favourite scorelines to throw out.
Yeah, you love throwing that one.
But it's it's a low scoring gritty game, which is only a point or two in it. Yep. And at Suncorp with that home crowd, that may be enough to put them over to Queensland to steal this game.
Well, what about New South Wales' record at Suncorp? 2 of the last 12 games they've won.
Yep.
And Freddie, as a coach, hasn't won there.
Yeah. And Queensland's overall record, I think, 65% at Suncorp.
So a very, very tall order. Unfortunately for you and for Queensland, if my expertise means anything, which it doesn't, from what I saw in Townsville and that back 7 and Luai and Cleary aside, any back 5 that's got Teddy,
you got the best player in the game,
Tommy Turbo, Latrell, and then and on the wings with Toto and the Fox, 2 of the best finishers in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got my blue glasses on, but fucking good luck.
Yeah. And as I mentioned before, maybe it comes with that forward pack, that platform. They grind it out, so then maybe it takes some of those backs out of the game a little bit. So it is more of a low-scoring contest and a defensive battle. Time will tell. We'll find out.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Sunday.
So you're confident? You honestly believe they can win this game?
I have,
well, kind of fingers crossed hoping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fingers crossed hoping. It's like you add in, it's at Suncorp. They've got some good talent there. It's not the worst Queensland team that's ever put together.
That was last year.
That was last year, and they won the series. We're still talking about the 26 best players in the comp playing in State of Origin.
34.
So, or if you include the reserves, yeah. So it's still going to be a high quality contest. I think Queensland will be fired up. Would have learnt a lot from game 1. Will make this a lot closer contest. So that's why I think maybe they can sneak this one, and they're probably going to lose. They won't win in Sydney. If it's in Sydney, I don't think they win. I'm fingers crossed for not for the COVID, but for the lockdown. So they have to play game 3 in Queensland. So it gives us a chance. Then I need a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be objective. I'm trying to leave my heart out of it. I think New South Wales on paper are way too good.
Yeah. New South Wales, yeah. If there is one game that Queensland can win, it's going to be this game. I don't see him.
What do Queensland's love being? Underdogs. So
Queensland.
We'll see. We'll talk about this next week.
Yeah. How good?